Thanks. Sorry, Ian, I'm going to ask you another question. You're getting really on the hot seat as the bus guy. But we were wondering if you were involved with the UPass at Memorial University and kind of why you think that failed.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about that. I'm also on the bus commission, but so the UPass, the process that was followed, for whatever reason, the university administration decided to initiate a vote among the student body that would be an advisory element in the Board of Regents' decision on whether to adopt a UPass fee. So very unusual process. The Board of Regents doesn't normally follow that when they're deciding to impose new fees. So quite unusual. Then in terms of how that vote actually proceeded, the university administration was quite supportive of the idea, and they were trying to sort of explain the benefits to the student body. But now, I personally think one element is that it's just hard to get people to concretely want the frequency improvements. It's kind of intangible. Like there were a lot of very specific improvements on offer in the UPass package, but I think they were actually kind of difficult to understand for people, especially for people who don't use the bus or haven't before. So I think it was just the subject matter is a little bit difficult to get people truly excited about in terms of opting into a new fee and stuff as well. So there was some support, and there was like the survey that the MUN administration did in the fall actually indicated a lot more support than materialized in reality. But my theory is that there's too much cheap parking at MUN as well, that there's too many people who expect cheap parking everywhere, and that the procedure for adopting the UPass, personally, I'm not sure why an advisory vote was really necessary for something that, from the MUN administration's point of view, if there was a UPass, they could reduce the amount of parking on campus, they could pursue all sorts of good long-term goals. So I think it was a very unfortunate process, and then an unfortunate outcome of that process.
I also have views, and I do think it was unfortunate. I don't think it's quite fair to more or less blame the students. I think that they were presented with a plan that was not sufficiently attractive to them because they were asked to present, all the improvements were essentially paid out of their pocket. If, as with the rest of the transit system, we'd come to a compromise where the city had had matched the student contribution to improve the bus system that much more, or better still, if the city, MUN, and the students had each contributed a third, so you'd have like 3 times as many improvements, you would have had a very saleable proposition. And if that was taking place on top of the kind of improvements we're already hoping to get with the master plan coming up in the next 5 years, I think there's a great opportunity here in 2 or 3 years' time, talking to MUN and the city and building this into the master plan to have another bite at the UPass thing, present them with a much better thing, and that in turn would, I think, feed nicely into the master plan. But I think it was just not an attractive enough proposition given the state that public transit is in now. Once it's clear that the council is passionate about improving the bus system, not just for students and with their dime, but for the whole city, and that students be part of that, I think there's a much better chance of pushing it through.